Hey guys, I'm Janet on occasion, and today we are playing on the Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. So, as you can see, there's some Norskins here. This isn't actually the army that I want to necessarily focus on, but it's worth mentioning this is Turin's army. So, yeah, you guys are more familiar with Turin, and of course he's going to be one of our spectators in the Everchosen tournament. But he's actually up against Aerocrastic, who's one of our newcomers in the tournament. So, this is a great battle to show off. We get to show off two people involved, which is great, but I want to talk about Turin's army first, because Turin, he loves to have that heavy infantry corps. So you see he's got a ton of Marauder champions. These guys will hold up for weeks against things like Tomb Guard or Skeleton Warriors or Spearmen. Just they don't stand a chance, frankly. So very sturdy front line. He's got some Javelins to help with the large units, some more Marauders in the back, including the Icehorn Marauders, which do have perfect vigor. So they're going to be useful right up until the end, provided they stay alive. He's also got some Famir with great weapons, and he has the Mist Stalkers, which can stalk, surprisingly, so they're great. So he's got a load of heavy hitting, great anti-large, and a solid core. He's also got some extra spearmen in the back, just to help defend against any light cav that may try and get into his javelins. Also, it's led by Throg. Throg just has amazing stats. He hits so hard. He's a very scary boy, but he hits like an absolute truck, as Turin would say. And he's got anti-large, which is great against Tomb Kings. It's great to be able to hit those things. You know, the big targets, the War Sphinx, the Necrosphinx, hell, even a Hydra Titan. It's very handy to have Throg on board. And also, he can make units unbreakable. He has what is it called? The Crown of oh no, he didn't bring it. Wow, that's very surprising. Throg does have a crown that makes everyone unbreakable. I'm surprised he didn't bring that. But he's still very good at, well, just wailing on things, frankly. Also, he's got Famir Balefiend, so this guy will be able to sunder armor like the other Famir, but he's also a spellcaster, and Law of Fire is brilliant against Tomb Kings. All the Tomb King lords and heroes are weak to fire, so having Flaming Sword of Ruin, it'll make anything that's fighting them really good at fighting them, so it's very scary. Also, he has the Burning Skull. I mean, this is just a great breath attack. It'll do so much damage to things. It does magic and fire. It's lovely. And has a leadership debuff, which is kind of nice. It is pretty helpful for getting rid of all the chaff nice and quickly. And Cascading Fire Cloak, that extra armor piercing damage is going to be great on things like the Famir, especially if you can put their melee defense up. But this is about Aerocrastic. This is who I'm trying to show off. So how is he going to counter this? He has Skeleton, Horsemen, Archers, these guys great at killing things like Berserkers, but against the heavily armoured and shielded units like the Marauder Champions, it's a little bit more difficult, but they will be able to put up some great harass and get a lot of damage, because there is nothing that can catch these guys, so they'll be able to use all of their arrows. He's got another two over here, and he has some other Horsemen kicking around as well, so these guys would be great for chasing down fleeing units or just running through marauders and getting out of there before they get hurt. Also, he has 3 Ushabtu Greatbows. These guys are going to be fantastic at killing anything armored, which is most of this army. They're going to be able to get through the Marauder Champions very quickly, but of course things like the Famir have to be taken care of nice and quickly, so that's going to be fantastic to be able to kill them at range. So, over here, it's very cheap. This is very cheap, but it'll do. It'll bog things down. He has a load of Skeleton Spearmen. They're able to hold out for a while, and they'll trigger Realm of Souls for the other units. And he has 2 Tomb Princes. When these guys get to half health, he can use the curse that they have, which I believe he's got on both of them. Let's have a look. Whoop. 2 Prince. He has the curse, right? No, it's undead. Oh, he's just kept with nothing. Interesting. Wow, these guys have really just skimped on some of the abilities that I like. But, you know, who's to say that my idea is correct? Anyway, also he has Arcan the Black. Arcan the Black's going to be very useful, but of course with all the magic damage they can do, the Liber Mortis is not going to be as useful. So he's not going to be able to heal, you know, keep people protected with a physical resist if there's a load of magic damage on the board. So that's going to be very scary too. But that death magic is going to hurt, and there's going to be no catching Arcan. So he's going to be able to do what he wants. So, speeding things up. You can see initial damage, pretty heavy, pretty heavy. The Marauder Champions have taken a substantial amount of damage, and now all the Great Bows are trying to whittle down these Famir warriors, and there's more damage on the Champions on the other side. Ideally, you want to be shooting at the Marauder Hunters, because, well, they don't have shields, they have very little armor, and they can do a lot of damage if they can get in range of things like the Ushabtu Great Bows, that anti-large of theirs. So, a lot of skirting. Thing is, Turin can't touch anything right now. He can't touch any of this. They're all outrunning him, and the rest of the army is so far away, he's going to have to advance a long time, just taking all of this fire and these spells. Spirit Leech on Famir, it's actually pretty great, honestly. It's usually used on single model targets, but actually, even up to sort of cavalry unit sizes, it can get a lot of damage in. So against Famir, it is really nice to be able to kill them. You don't have to worry about their heavy armor, you can just keep sapping them with spells. And of course, there's no way they can heal. There's no healing for Norska, so any damage you can do to these guys early is very, very handy. And, of course, if he can get these guys to pin everything in place, then all these archers can just be shooting things to the back, where none of these guys will get the benefits of their shields. I know it's only bronze shields, but it all helps. I mean, look at this. These Marauder champions, half health already. I mean, these guys almost at half ammo, but still, this is pretty good. These guys can still cycle charge when they're done. So the Ushabti are having to run for their lives. The Miststalkers just sneaking up on them, frankly. This is not a good place to be in at all. But, you know, there's a lot of other pressure, so hopefully these guys can escape and the spearmen can come and help them. Over on this side, a ton of damage to these Vermeer warriors. They are being picked apart by all the Ushabti, and there's just people everywhere, so we can't really pick a good direction to run in. So here, Skeleton Warriors, they were summoned by Arcan, and it's bogged all of these guys down for a while, which definitely gives all of these Ushabti a lot more time to be shooting at things. So, oh, Doom and Darkness to crush their leadership, and now he can just chase them off the board with the Nehekara Horsemen, and start whittling down these Marauders with all of his units, which is pretty great. But there's some very nice juicy targets here, so these Ushabti could capitalize, shooting straight through these lines, and it looks like he's trying to now. But yeah, these Skeletons, they're holding out for a while, and the front lines haven't even engaged yet. And so far, the only thing that's really taken a lot of casualties is these guys have taken some damage. There's still 9 models, though, and the summoned Skeletons have taken damage. Everything else is totally fine, and Turin's army is being whittled down horribly. But this is where things are going to get a bit sticky, because, frankly, there's no hope for these spearmen against Marauder champions. The Tomb Princes will definitely help, and Arcan will definitely help in here. But, yeah, there's not a lot the Skeleton Spearmen can do against the heavily armoured... oh, those are just Marauders. The heavily armoured Marauder champions. There we go. Miststalkers sneaking around the outside to try and get the Ushabti again. You cannot have these guys fire. The more you can chase them, the more they have to run away. It means they're not firing, and that is enough. Here, though, you can see Arcan has taken a huge amount of damage because Throg has got his hands on him. So Arcan needs to get out of there before he takes too much damage. But, of course, the Tomb Prince, with his anti-large and armor piercing, is going to be able to do some damage in kind. So that is definitely handy. Miststalkers, another Spirit Leech, good to whittle them down. Definitely useful. So here you can see the back line is getting shot quite a bit by all of these Ushabti, and these Marauder champions have been given the runaround. They can't catch anything back here. So they're a bit of a nuisance, sure. Here, Burning Head, that's going to do a lot of damage. These Spearmen, yeah, they're not having a great time. But these Marauder champions just getting shot at the back so much. They are suffering horribly. And the cycle charging for the Nehekara Horsemen, I mean, only 25 charge bonus. It's not great, but charging in the rear, they're going to knock a lot over and they'll get out of there. And Realm of Souls triggering is going to keep them in the fight, which is great. So over here, Arcan is suffering quite a bit, but yeah, the Marauder Javelins aren't about to catch up again. Here, it looks like he's trying to summon. Yep, he's got the Ushabti in there. So the Ushabti right on top of the Marauders. That's not what you want. The Marauders do not want to be there. I mean, those Javelins, great anti-large, but only with the Javelins. In melee, no, this isn't going to work. So here, another Spirit Leech. That's basically all Arcan's been doing here. Just Spirit Leech after Spirit Leech. I mean, sure, he's used Doom and Darkness the odd time, but it's, yeah, it's just Spirit Leeching the main stuff is pretty brutal. And the Ushabti, totally safe back here, able to use most of their ammo now on all these valuable targets. Throg has gotten in here, though, and these Ushabti are definitely getting caught out. There's just nowhere they can go. Miststalkers, they're actually pretty quick, honestly, which is why these other Ushabti really need to shut them down. But in a second, we are going to see a Doom and Darkness on these Miststalkers to finish them off, which is very, very wise. It is great to be able to just tip people over the edge there, just get their leadership down enough to be able to chase them away without having to sit in that sustained fight for too long. So, yeah, it's pretty textbook. And here we go. We're about to see it. So they already broke, but Doom and Darkness is going to make sure they're not coming back. So, over here, as you can see, the Icehorn Marauders are having a whale of a time. I mean, you know, perfect vigor. They're never going to tire out. They'll be able to sit here and damage these guys all day. Another Burning Head is going to do a lot of damage to the Skeleton Warriors. And it does hit some of the other units, but they're not so susceptible to a spell like that. But, yeah, things are looking a bit iffy for the Tomb King's infantry here. There's still some in there. The two Tomb Princes are still doing fine. And a lot of the infantry is starting to get wrapped up just from the sustained fire from all the Tomb King's units. Over here you can see the Miststalkers, they're having a terrible day. Doom and Darkness still active, it lasts for so long. But over here, unfortunately, these Ushabti are really struggling, and they just, yeah, with them crumbling, might as well just sit there and keep the Marauder Champions busy so these others can use their ammunition. But that is definitely a good thing for Turin. To be able to shut these guys down when they still have so much ammunition is excellent. But over here, all the cavalry are running in to make sure the Miststalkers don't come back, and Throg is trying to stop them from doing so. It is not a good place for these cavalry with Throg involved, but they are unbreakable, so Throg's going to have to get a lot of work in before they'll actually stop chasing the Miststalkers. But, yeah, the Ushabti, sorry, camera moving there. The Ushabti are chasing down the Miststalkers now, which is pretty grim for them, because those Miststalkers are so valuable. They are so good for killing all this stuff. I mean, now the Ushabti are out of ammunition, they're going to have to run into melee, and things like the Famir are perfect for killing them. Just absolutely perfect. But the Ushabti, they have armor piercing, so they're going to do really well against all the Marauder champions that are left. So, yeah, this is pretty calculated. They're useful when they've run out of armor, provided that this stuff isn't around, but of course their range damage is going to get rid of them, and that's exactly what's happened. So it's been pretty textbook. So here's some rear charges into the Icehorn Marauders, but again with their perfect vigor it means they're not taking leadership penalties for being exhausted either, so they're actually going to stay in the fight a lot longer than most. So over here we can see another Spirit Leech. He's moved on to the Bale Fiend now, who has actually taken a substantial amount of damage. It is not looking good for the Bale Fiend. Over here, Arcan is getting involved because he wants to generate more summons of those. Yep, there we go. These are the ones I was talking about. The Skeleton Warriors. He wants more fodder in the mix, but he has to be in melee to recharge that. So being able to do that is really useful. It's keeping Throg bogged down, and it means the Tomb Prince can get some armor-piercing anti-large damage into Throg. So Fight or Die has been procced, which is actually making these Icehorn Marauders very, very valuable. I mean, look at this. Their kills are racking up super quick. They will chop through this fodder very well. It's rare that I see Icehorn Marauders working, but they are working. This is impressive. So here, Cascading Fire Cloak has been cast on Throg by the Bale Fiend that is somehow still holding on, despite having very little health left. So that is going to make him very resilient at 77 melee defense, which is pretty great. Especially for someone who hits that hard. I mean, whew, not something you want to mess with. So over here, a lot of cycle charging, but the Marauder champions, they're still very resilient. But leadership is going a bit. For me, a Bale Fiend has been taken out, and this Tomb Prince, he's actually doing pretty well. He has a nice cheap way to get damage into Throg, especially with all this chaff around him. It means Throg is going to get distracted occasionally. Luckily for Turin, though, he does have the Icehorn Marauders, which will help cut through a lot of this chaff, which will let Throg focus on what he wants to focus on. But right now, he's got to get out there and deal with Arcan, but there's no catching up to him. There's just no catching him. So here you can see a lot of units are starting to go, but there's still Ushabti with ammo left, and they are starting to fire into Throg. That is not ideal at all, and the Icehorn Marauders are finally broken, and they are never going to come back. They're going to get chased down by those Nehekara Horsemen, which is very, very grim indeed. So as you can see, Aerocrastic, this build is working great. I mean, that is not an easy matchup at all. Norska have a lot of great anti-large tools. They've just got great tools, honestly. Their infantry outmatch the Tomb King infantry, but he's used his mobility, and he's used the exact right tools to deal with the exact build that Turin had. You know, all the armoured units could be killed at a safe distance, and everything else could be whittled down later. So it's pretty awesome to see. So Throg now, he's on his own. Everything else has just left him. There's no one left. There's no one left. It's just Throg. I mean, it's in the Chaos Wastes. I mean, this is his domain, really. The Tomb Kings have no business here. But it looks like he's going to go down soon. There's still the Tomb Prince. Arcan's still hanging out. He might be able to get another Spirit Leech or two out if he just sits around long enough. And these guys finally running out of ammo. But just in time to win the match. So, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic game. Really well played by both of them. I mean, the fact that Turin was able to keep the pressure on Aerocrastic's like valuable units, you know, the ones that were really going to get the killing done. He almost kept his Famir going, but it was just too much. He was just being assaulted from too many directions by the Ushabti, who were just perfect at taking out those big armoured units. And after that, his Marauders just couldn't handle what was remaining, so they eventually got whittled down. It's pretty impressive. You can tell the ones that were at the wings, because look at that, 10 kills each. I mean, that's mainly against fodder, but they just got whittled down horribly by all the just ridiculous amount of archer fire from the Skeleton Horseman archers that never had any risk of getting caught out. So it's very impressive. So, yeah, so Aerocrastic. It's actually Aerocrastic. That was a joke alias, I guess. But, yeah, absolutely fantastically played. So, guys, I am so excited to see Aerocrastic playing in the tournament. He's going to be a great new addition to the roster for this weekend. It's going to be very, very cool. And also, you know, of course, we're going to see Turin there too. He's going to be casting most of these games, so it's going to be great, right? So, guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.